First things first. For those of you guys who have the old system, you're going to need to go into Tools, and you're going to have to go to Remove Ninja Script Assembly, and then I don't have it in here because obviously I don't have it in this machine. I've got open source, but you'll see a T3 TTS version 27 point whatever. Just remove that. And then once you remove that, you're going to go in and you're going to import the NinjaScript add-on, and then you're going to find wherever you have it and then say okay, and then you'll be able to put it on there. And then once you have, again, the installer that runs from the support page, which I put the link in, it's going to put in templates and all of that kind of good stuff. So the short version is the large chart will now become your transmit chart. So whenever you see a potential, like if we get a pullback here, I'd expect one. It's really the exact same on the big chart with the exception of the entry. So what will happen is if we get a pullback and we have an arrow here, you'll see it over here. We have a potential signal, and then what will happen is the system will get in. The system will get in, and then the management techniques that we. Shit. Damn it. I did that wrong. The management techniques that we teach you guys are going to be incorporated in here. So, again, it's really pretty straightforward. Transmit from the big chart. And I have, just so you guys know, in here, which I put it in the video, but I've got very little in the way of filters set up. If you guys have your own preferences on what you've done for version 1, please feel free to use whatever you want on the large chart. And then the nice thing is you get the same ability on the smaller chart. So the smaller chart's the receiver chart. So whenever there's a potential signal on the big chart, small chart will read where the triggers are and all the good stuff. And then short version, I don't have any filters active on the small chart, which I don't think is right. I think you guys are going to probably want support and resistance or whatever. You guys can add that as you see fit. Sergio, let me take a look. Do you need to remove both? Was the question. No. The pro traders are indicators. Don't remove that. You'll be very unhappy. Or you'll have to import it again, one of the two. Just the 27.112 that you have, remove that one. And then save the zip file I just posted in there, or after you run the installer. I prefer you guys run the installer first, but look, when we had this trend trade long in the beginning, you're like, oh, yay, that's a great trade. And I think it is a great trade. But again, just to kind of show the power of some of the management techniques that we use, lower divergence is going to exit a trade. As I said, this is so you guys can start to get used to this while I'm finishing up. And again, I hope this doesn't confuse anybody. There's still a little bit of work to do. I've got to get the limit orders working. I've got to figure out why it reverses on an exit position 10% of the time. 90% it doesn't, or 80% it doesn't, but 20% it does, which damn near every time you have a higher lower divergence, you can make money going the other way. But so I don't ever panic. If it happens, I wait until we get to somewhere and then get out of it. But anyway, that's just me personally. Still a flaw, and we got to get it fixed. Christy, the one that I supplied for you in the installer, let me show it to you. It's called Trend Trade System for the small chart NQ. And I have one that's trend trade system for the ES. And the only difference between these two is the size of the synthetic triggers. So technically, you can use anything that you want and just put on. And what that will do, just, again, because we're now using multiple T3 trigger lines, the big thing in the indicator, and look, if you have your own setup for indicators, totally cool. Okay. The thing that you're going to have to change is one of the triggers has to be named synthetic triggers. And it's obviously the one that comes from a different time frame. So synthetic triggers, and what you'll find is in the strategy, there's an input called use two triggers, which is the second one, which we want to do. So you leave it alone. And then the first one's a star, which means just use the trigger line's name. And then the second one is what did you name the other trigger line? So if you have your own workspace or your own setups or anything else, you're going to have to change the name of your synthetic triggers to synthetic triggers. And it's really easy to do. Just there's a label input on the indicator itself. You literally just type it out. So just on every indicator, technically. So synthetic triggers, you just type it out right there and say okay, and then save your own template. You'll be fine. So again, I think it's moderately straightforward. I don't have any filters. I do have filters in here for now. I had it without filters, and man, if you want to talk about having a lot of signals, have no filters. I don't think it's best, but while you're playing around, and then the other thing that we've added actually today, believe it or not, last night late and today, these are all of your exits that are added into the small strategy. So there's a bunch of them. We'll go through them real quick just to make sure that you guys understand them. Again, they're all listed right here in the number 9 exits. So if we have an opposite divergence, just any divergence against you, get out. It'll get out. If you have higher lower divergence against you, it'll get out. If you have a divergence pivot stop out on the small chart, it'll get you out on a reversal bar. If you hit a fib or a resistance and you get a reversal bar, it'll get you out, or it'll get you out on 1-to-1s. And sometimes when the market's really cranking and you say, hey, look, we're going to go down to here, probably, there's no reason for me to want to get out of a position if I get into one for, like right here to pivot stop out or something along those lines. So you may, depending on the situation, opt for not having these. Or you may say, hey, once I do get to the next 1-to-1 now, so I'll enable it. If I get there, then it'll take me out of my position. So again, just personal preference. Unfortunately, our filter on the pivot stop out got us there. So I was hoping we get a short signal in there so I can kind of show you guys. Questions, comments. I know the first video I put together is kind of self-explanatory. So here's how you build the whole thing from start to finish. So I'm just going to remove everything and just build it one time so it's on video and everybody has it. So I'm going to remove the strategy from the big chart, and I'm going to remove the strategy on the small chart. And again, this, I've given the system for a while to a couple of people to test, and a couple things that they mess up. So, just to make sure that we get it right. Number one, on your large chart, I always start with the large, but it doesn't matter, order of operations. And then I go into the T3 trend trade strategy. And then whatever your defaults are is going to go in there. I want you to see this. In transmitter mode, if you're on solo, it's just going to be just like version 1, basically. It is version 1. So it'll be large chart, limit orders at the EMA, exactly what you've had. We're going to change it to transmitter. but I'm going to do it with a template, and I want you guys to use this template too. So just to start off, so default large transmit chart. I don't know why I have two of them, but I think they're about the same. And short version is it's very wide open, not a lot of filters in there. And most of this stuff doesn't matter because we're not doing entries and signals on this chart. We're just waiting for these conditions to be true before we push to the small chart the potential of a signal. So with that one template, you're good. I mean, if you want to set up times and when to close things out, and then also the exits don't make any difference on the big chart since we're not entering on the big chart, so it's not going to read it. Limit order, leave it everything the same, and make sure you have to have an ATM strategy. It doesn't matter what's in there because we're not entering on the big chart, so it's not using it, but you still have to have one in there. And then just enable it and say okay. And we missed our short. Anyway, and then when you're ready to activate this, you just click the transmit button and it'll start transmitting to the smaller chart, which we don't have any system on it now. So, and the other thing is you can right click, show your signals grid. If you're not getting signals or getting the grid to populate, you're not going to get signals. And you should see the historical signals too. So shouldn't be too much of a pain. And then look, all we got to do is go to the small chart and go to strategies and add the same strategy. And then go to templates and load the default receiver chart template. And again, keep in mind, these things do count. So if you want to do 5 entries in the same direction, you can do 5 entries in the same direction. Probably not best, but if you want to set it for 2 or 3 or whatever you normally might want to take 2 shots at a trade, this limit order stuff is not going to come into play yet. I'll tell you what I'm going to be doing. And then ultimately, if you want to run filters on your small chart, like don't trade into support or don't trade into resistance until the triggers break through. Same logic as literally the big chart. And then obviously 51 has to remain checked because we're doing a reversal bar, with the correct synthetic trigger look. And then there's 2 of these 51s, use correct side and use wrong side distance. And just to kind of explain that to you, I made a picture. I made it so long ago today, I got to go screw through and find the darn thing. I think I'm going to remove the correct side trigger because it doesn't really matter if you're on the correct side. What this does, the correct side, is it needs to get within the higher low, needs to get within X number of ticks to the trigger, which I don't even have this in the documentation yet. We just added it yesterday, finished it yesterday. So, if you wanted to say, look, you have to get within 5 ticks of the large triggers or synthetic triggers to do a trade, that'll do it for you. I say leave it off for now. The use wrong side distance, what it says is, short version, if there was a sell signal on the big chart, which there's not here, and you get a reversal bar, how far on the wrong side can you be? Does that make sense? How far on the wrong side in ticks can the reversal bar be? That's the short version of what it does. So with a 2-tick setting, the reversal bar has to be within 2 ticks of the synthetic triggers or it won't work. I think it's best at 2, just leave it alone, play with it for a while. But if you want to give it a little more leeway on the other side, you're more than welcome. Totally up to you. Everything is open. I wanted functionality. I wasn't worried about profitability yet. So I haven't done any optimizing. I haven't done any testing on filters, and very, very little. I've been more working on the functionality of it. Jeremy, when you say it needs to be on a limit order. On the large chart, yes. Because that tells us, wait for the pullback to give a signal. So on the large chart, it needs to be limit, but it's not entering on the large chart anymore. The small chart is market for now, and I'm going to be doing limit order additions. I've got the tickets in. So for example, if we were doing a limit order, it'd be right here, give or take. I might have missed it. Anyway, this is about where the limit order would be because I'm putting it really close to the edge of the synthetic triggers, and then you guys can go in and add, what you want after that. Obviously, the system would have went long here. I just I didn't have it on, but that would have been a long signal right there had we have had our system on. So anyway, let's add our system. Christy. Yes, I made a chart template for you guys. I just want to give you a warning in advance. T3 trend trade system, small chart NQ with tick replay enabled. So you can have your reversal bars. So here, I'll do it for you real quick. Let me add it. I don't have tick replay enabled, but this is the indicator setting. So I'll show you what it looks like. Give me 2 seconds. All right, data series, tick replay enabled. I'm going to just go 3 days back. There's enough data in the NASDAQ to not have to worry about it. So I'll make it a little less labor intensive. You can leave it 10 days back if you want. It's just going to take a long time to chew. Because you got to run the indicators, and then the strategy also has to run all the indicators. So it takes a little bit of time. All right, so here is your chart normally, right, Christy? Where you have all of your goodies on there and multiple fibs and everything else. So all you're going to do now is just put the strategy on it the exact same way. So we'll go to strategy, and then I'll load the template for default receiver chart. And then I will say, I don't need a 50 tick stop, and then I'll say, okay, and we are in business. So it's going to take a minute. Once you enable it, it has to recalculate everything one more time because that's the way things work. It's just labor intensive. If you have a half-assed computer, you're not going to be happy with tick replay. I've done some tick replay work with it. Okay, well, it gave a signal, but it was calculating, so it got in late. Anyway, short version is, there you can see signal. I'm going to move my stop out of the way so we can, I don't know if it's going to go or not, but we'll let any of our exits take us out if so pretty straightforward, right? Large chart has a potential signal, small chart has a reversal on the right side of the triggers. Go. Absolutely not. I appreciate that question that you had about setting up any size chart. I set up a 55.8 NASDAQ with a 21.3 and had a lot of fun with replay on that one. So there's your one-to-one exit enabled. So again, if we don't want any of these exits to work, we can always just do this and turn them off. But you see how it's using the pivot stop out. So look, most of the time when the triggers are going down like this, we don't want to get out because it's going to make it. But anyway, neither here nor there. At the moment, we'll probably run up to here, and this will be the area it goes from if it does. Anyway, that's a whole nother ball of wax. All right. So going through John, scrolling the mouse doesn't put the triggers on top of the bars on the big chart. it starts out that way on the template, and I don't know why it goes behind it. John, because look, when I apply the template for the indicators, I get the triggers on the correct side, but then it changes. So it's kind of weird. I don't know why that would be, but anyway, tick replay. I'm just going to say it's iffy still. Test it out and see if you have any issues with it. For me personally, I think this thing system-wise is going to be better. Just make a third chart to the side so you can see everything if you really want to. I think that the system won't read synthetic fibs, so it's only going to read the native fibs that you have on here. So it's not going to be reading those extra fibs. So it's just for your visual. So I wouldn't stress the strategy that much personally, but you're more than welcome to. And again, I think we've got it fixed so it works fine, but I'm going to turn mine off just because it's too labor intensive. Is there a tick replay? I had it on this one. I just turned it off. And you can see I disabled my strategy. Did you guys also know that you can go into your strategy tab on here and just go click and it'll enable it for you? So much faster than going into the darn thing. A lot of people don't know that, so not needed. And we wrote it so it will work with it. So if you wanted to do, some limited stuff, or you can do whatever you want. It's just the more labor intensive it gets, you know how things are in NinjaTrader if you do too much. All right. Ignore these things that popping up here. Let me read what you got. Yeah, Gene, you're gonna probably have to right click and open with and change the association with it. Well, think of a tick as one price change without tick replay. When you have tick replay, it breaks it down into almost the 100,000th of a second. So there can be 20 times the amount of data. We might get a long signal here. We'll see. There would be, you can see we're loaded for a long signal if we get an up bar. No up bar, no signal. We'll see what happens here. My synthetic triggers are off for some reason. I'm going to have to reload my small tick, my small chart without. So I have all my triggers. Should I do that right? Damn it, I didn't do that right. Sorry, I loaded the wrong template. Small chart NASDAQ. There we go. Now let me put the strategy back on. Strategy, trend trade, default receiver chart. And again, I want you guys to start with the default receiver chart. And then you can make your changes on whatever you want to change for yourself personally. And then you can save off another template. And then over the next week, we've got limit orders we're working on because right now, remember how it was on the large chart? The limit order would get you in at the EMA. Just period. It would just get you in at the EMA and put the limit order there above or below it. It's different when you get to using the small chart because if you get to that spot, and this is why you can't use limit orders on the small chart because it's going to get you in right there at the EMA, and you don't want that. So again, just it has to be fixed, and limit orders are going to go a lot closer to the synthetic triggers. So that way they're far away. You can adjust them if you want to automatically, as you're trading live, as you see fit, or it'll be from the edge, one of the two. Yes. Pete, I've had to do a entire rewrite of everything that we've had since 2011 to get this stupid demo version, because our key generators and all of our security software and all that kind of good stuff is so damn old it doesn't compile anymore in the modern version. So we had to rewrite everything, and now we're having some sticky spots. So we're working through those things. As soon as we get through those, I hope within the next week we should have a demo version of this. Should be out by next weekend. That's the pressure I put on myself anyway, and the programmers. So there's just a lot of parts and pieces that go with it. All right, so questions. What is the template for the bigger chart? If you go into your big chart and go templates, load, trend trade system for the large chart, it says it. Trend trade system, large chart. Trend trade system, small chart. And I put two different small charts there because one of them has a 13.2 synthetic trigger and one of them has a 34.5. And again, can we do a hypothetical here? In a week, I hope, Jerry. All right, so look, we got a signal on the big chart, reversal bar on the small chart. So we got ourselves a long trade, whether we like it or not. I put a big stop in on mine, so I think a 30 tick stop. You don't have to have that much of a stop, but I like to give it a little bit of room. Anyway. Sometimes a perfect look doesn't work. Here's the thing. Let me ask you guys a question. And again, look, you don't have to wait for a reversal bar, guys. You can always put a limit order in at the edge. So you would have been in right there, and you had a stop right below it. So again, look, system is stupid. I want you guys to know that. And I don't think, especially now, not yet, maybe never, who knows, but it does about 90% of the work now, and you're still going to have to put in 10%. But I guess I should have went again, but anyway. I only had one time. If I had two times and a little more below my triggers, it might have gone, but anyway, since we only have one time in a row, which I guess is not best for show and tell, is it? You guys want to see more signals? I think one may be best for the real world. I'll change it to 5 for what we're doing here. And it'll still go long if we get a reversal bar pretty quick. Well, nope, it's going to be too far on the other side of the triggers. So we won't get a long signal no matter what. All right. Well, this is just any divergence. So if you were long, let's just say you were long hypothetically, any divergence is going to get you out. Does that make sense? So if I go long and I have any divergence at all, it will get me out of my trade. So there's divergence. It got me out. See that? Well, if you're long, bearish divergence gets you out of a long. If you're short, bullish divergence gets you out of a short. Does that make sense? Yes. Look, all you got to do is click these buttons and it turns them off. Or there's settings inside of the system where you can set them by default, whether you want them on or off. Like for me, I want higher, lower divergence at all times, period. That's the one that I really like. And then the second one, I mean, if we get to divergence, pivot, stop outs, and they don't break through or a fib, I'll turn those on if we're close to an area. And remember, when you guys, let's just say you do a manual trade, which I can't say that's going to be a good trade, but it will actually use the exit logic. So, for example, like right here, say if this 1-to-1 makes a reversal bar, it gets me out. Do I really want to be out? Well, I don't know. I'd have to look at my other charts and see what, yes, I probably do want to be out because I'm at an area on the large chart. But if you didn't, you just turn it off and it won't get you out. That's the hope anyway. And you guys all, again, look, the idea of me giving you this before next week when I actually get some of these other things done is so you can start playing with it and you can start getting used to using it, and you can start testing it some. You can watch it. Live trading, obviously, the markets are so crazy volatile that there's a lot of time. You're going way too deep into why I'm turning off the buttons. I'm worried about functionality. Do I want to get out of a trade if? Do you understand what I'm saying? So let's say I'm in a trade, which I can't say this is a good one with the big chart, but let's say I'm in a trade. If I get a higher divergence or if I get divergence going the other way, if I'm in a situation where I want to get out because of one of these things, I can turn them on. For me, the only one I leave on so far all of the time, no matter what, is the higher lower divergence. So, for example, like right here, you can see we have a potential higher divergence, which is probably going to happen because of the large chart. So it'll take me out of my position because I have this enabled. Does that make sense? So again, it's just, again, I think these, and that's the reason why I put these on the fly buttons in, so that way you guys can look at your chart and look at your situation and all the good stuff that we teach you, and then decide whether or not you do want to take that exit. You just flip it on real quick. Cool. Instead of being forced to have it on all the time, because there are a lot of times you get into a trend and it's just not quite going yet, and it goes pivot stop out, pivot stop out, pivot stop out, pivot stop out, and you'll end up doing like 5 trades when you could have just stayed in. So that's the reason. Well, the soft close, there's one thing that's screwed up that they're fixing right now. The easiest thing is to have no ATM strategy loaded. And then if you're in a position, let's just say, just sell one the opposite way. So if you're doing a 1 lot or a 2 lot, whatever. So if you're in a trade and it's going the opposite way, you can say, oh, I'm long, just sell one, and then that'll do it. If you hit close, it's going to disable your strategy, which you can do that. I mean, like if I wanted to go short and hit close, it turns off all my strategies, and then I'm like, Jesus Louise. So, of course, this is the quick, turn it back on. Make sure you turn on transmit, and again, keep the signal grid going, because then you'll know whether or not you should be having something here. So let me tell you what I'm doing going forward. And again, look, Gene, I really didn't finish my thought. Sorry. I've got ADD brain. So if you put on the soft close or gentle killer, soft close, it's screwed up right now. And the reason why is because it occupies the top slot and disables the system, which is really stupid. I'm having them fix that. I sent it to them today because I haven't been using it whatsoever, so I don't use it. But you're going to have to hang tight because to use it, I got to slide all these down one. And I'm trying to build it into the strategy. That's my thought. I told the programmer, I said, instead of having it as an additional indicator, just build it into the strategy. I think it's the reason why sometimes the exits reverse. So we're in a debug mode on that right now, and we're adding in limit orders. And again, I want to be clear about limit orders, okay? Limit orders, I'm going to place them at the edge of the synthetic triggers because that's kind of the last line in the sand. So what will happen is, let's just say hypothetically, the system says, hey, we're going to go short. And I have limit orders when I get it done. So not today, but when it gets done, you're going to say, all right, I want to do it from the synthetic trigger edge minus a couple ticks. So it'll place your limit order right here. Does that make sense? So if you look at this and you say, uh-oh, it placed a limit, but I better put it down here. I'm not going to get filled. Then, it'll place it there. It'll place it here. And again, I think as you guys, I don't know how much you guys have studied this, but I've spent an exorbitant amount of time going back and looking at the edge of the synthetic triggers, and they're really, really, really good, especially when there's a fib or one-to-one or a pivot stop out there. The beginning of them's fun, no problem with that, but the end of them seems to be the edge a lot of times. So anyway, I'm just going to put it farther away for you guys, and you can adjust it live on the fly if you want to move it down. Gene, did I answer your question on the soft close? You just can't use it yet. I'm going to fix it. Need a day or two. You guys, if you get this up and running, you're going to have to do a couple more updates because I'm just not done. I just really, 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 really wanted to get you guys what we have so you can start getting used to it and start playing with it and watching it live and trying to see what it is that you like or don't like with the strategy. All right. Any questions, comments, concerns, things you guys want to go through? I'll be more than happy to go through them. And look, you can put your own limit order in, guys. You can put your own limit order in, and you don't have to wait for the system to do it if you want to do it. You know that, right? And then the system will take over and manage the trade based on these exits that you have selected. So that's a lot of work that's done, that we teach that the system will do for you. So, the only problem with putting a limit order in is, you guys know, if there's no reversal bar, you just get run over. So, for me, oops, there you go, limit order. Anyway, I always like a limit order at a 1-to-1. That's just me. Realistically, the system will probably have it right there because that's the edge. I don't know if it holds or not, but anyway, that's where it's going to be. You guys can adjust it from there. Yes. No, Jeremy. All right. What that says is, bear with me. Shit, where's my picture? Oh, dang it. I got so many pictures. Let me find the picture. Okay. Here's a picture. How far on the wrong side of the synthetic triggers can the close be? So if you have it at 2 ticks, then it has to be right on the synthetic triggers. Very, very close. If you have it at 10 ticks, then you give it a lot more leeway to go short on the other side of your triggers, which doesn't usually work out anyway, but should you choose to do it, it's okay. So if you make it 21, it'll basically say, as long as the large chart still has a viable signal, you can get on the other side and do a trade. Does that make sense? And I doubt with all my being, Jeremy, that that's the last question. Other questions? Does anybody else have any other questions? And again, you're just going to have to kind of get in. Now, I did do enough on the user guide, just so you know. I still have a little bit of work to do here. But as far as, uh, small chart entry logic, small chart management, what do they mean? I left this video that I made for you guys for trade management for the trading system. Basically, what I say in this video is what the system does now for all intents and purposes. So it's still a pretty good video. And then system indicator chart templates. Again, you can do any size chart you want. I've got a workspace with, just to open it up here, it's got a 55.8 and a 14.2 chart. I was just playing around. So you're more than welcome to run any size. I actually made 55.8 with a 21.3, 55.8 with a 13.2, 55.8 with, you can do whatever you want, 34.5, whatever you want. It's totally up to you. It's yours. So we don't have any limitations on it. So in the user guide, again, I think I got this pretty straight. You can format any of the indicators and change them if you wish. That's okay. And then obviously applying the strategy to the large chart. Using a template and default large chart transmit template is a good place to start for your big one. And then, as I said, if you run solo on your large chart instead of transmit, it's version 1. I don't think anybody's going to want that, but anyway, it's there. And then obviously your historical trades should plot, and you can click the transmit button to make your graph at the bottom. And I made small chart for S&P and for 13.2. If you decide you want a 21.3 chart as your entry chart, totally cool. The only thing you're going to have to do is change your indicators, your synthetic triggers. So if you want them to be a 55.8, which they don't have to be, they can be any number, but if you want them to be your large chart, you just have to change your indicator synthetic trigger to whatever your large chart is, or whatever chart you want. Yep, absolutely. Yes, sir. Will this work in NTAI strategy? No. No. This is a go forward system only, not a backtest system. Backtest systems, that's such bullshit. Because what happened 3 weeks ago didn't happen 2 weeks ago, and damn sure didn't happen last week. I'm not saying that there's not some merit for the ability to be able to do that in a strategy analyzer and run optimizations. But I think it ends up curve fitting the data. I think, look, real world experience, you guys all have tons of real world experience with NextGen. So you know what you want it to do and you know when you want it to do it. And I think that's going to end up being the best for you guys. That's just my personal take on it. I don't think there is one perfect setting. Just, it doesn't exist. So you can save yourself the trouble. What you need to find is a setting that you can manage and make a bunch of money with. Which I've always said that, but it's still true. So anyway, I just want you guys to understand how to get it on, how to apply templates, what each of these things mean. Making money setting. Absolutely. And look, it's just me, guys. I have been working my ass off. I mean, literally did like 15 hours on the weekend, and I'm so tired of this damn trend trade system. But I'm actually very pleased with where we're at. But we've got next 2 or 3 things I fix. I'll make an update. Limit orders, get the bug out for the reversal on the Anyway, so once those are done, then it's damn near like Mark Novak analyzing the charts for you and telling you where the great trade is and then doing it for you. So, I mean, it's literally 90%. Never going to be 100%. I don't think. I mean, we could shoot for 100%, but I think that's kind of pie in the sky. I don't think it's going to happen. 90% is what we can get you. When you say the percentage numbers, are you talking about divergence? You talking about this right here? It's the divergence indicator. So, and again, I want you guys to keep in mind. So, look, our T3 divergence potential indicator, that's it. And Lou, I want you to keep in mind we're not talking about next gen pro trader funding. We're talking about the other business, automated Fibonacci day trading software. So it's this indicator package in here. Right? I know. I just, there's some crossover between the prop and so I'm just not just saying it for you. I'm saying it for everybody. I thought Bitcoin was going to get down to 52,000. It's at 67, so we'll see. Anyway, 52 to 38, and then buy the shit out of it. Anyway, all right, that's a whole other story. Questions, comments, concerns about, the other thing is too, look, if you do a trade on your own manually, remember, as long as the strategy is active, it will manage your trades according to whatever these things you have on. So, for example, if I was long and it went up and made a pivot stop out, I'd have to decide do I want to get out? So if I don't want to get out, I need to turn this off before it makes a down bar. You see what I'm saying? So if I was long, I'd probably take half right there and then see what happens. My wife would be mad for getting out early at me. So the other thing about divergence, pivot stop outs, and the other lines, once you pass them up, it's not going to exit. That's kind of the whole point of what we teach, right? If you get on the other side of what was resistance, it now becomes support. So same thing with the exits. It won't actually get you out of a position. Anyway, so I do have 1-to-1. So if we get to that 1-to-1 and it makes a reversal bar, it'll exit. We'll see. Again, this is where having your multiple time frame fibs. Oh, it didn't exit. Wonder why it didn't exit. Huh. Anyway, like I said, I thought it was going to freaking exit. Should have exited. Anyway, huh. What a fine exit that it didn't take. Anyway, there may be a bug or two in here yet, guys. So word of caution. Man, it's crazy. Market is just insane, isn't it? I mean, it's good if you're on the right side of things, but if you're on the wrong side of things, it's freaking expensive as hell. Thought there's a what? 60 bid. What's firm 60 bid? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, people don't care if it goes 10 or 20 grand against them, but I do. I want it to get to an area and then stop, drop, and roll, just like we always teach. So we'll see. Just because I say it might get to an area doesn't always mean it's going to stop. All right, questions, comments, concerns. I know it's not perfect yet, but I wanted to get you guys one first as I work through the last issues and the last little things to make it better. And then, look, I'm easy, guys. I'm here for you. If you say, look, this would make the system a hell of a lot better, XYZ, here's the rules, here's what I've seen, give it to me. We'll put it in. I'm not against, I mean, I am totally fine with you guys helping out make it better. So please feel free. It's yours. So I'm here to try to make it as great as it can be, which I've still got a little bit of work. I know that, but if there's anything else that you see that needs to be done, I'm totally cool doing it. How about a trade strategy? Meaning what? Like rules for what a trade might be? Mm, I mean, we have all the rules. So here's the short version of our rules. Adding a new strategy to the system. Geez Louise, man. All right, Mark. Can I finish the first one before I go off and got to build anything else? So let's get the first one done where we all say, okay, that's as good as it gets, and then I'll start thinking about building another one. All right, this is going to be the pregnant pause of silence, which means you guys get to ask questions or we'll put it into the session. So please let me know if you have other questions or things you want to go through. And again, for anybody who came in late, I think the best thing to do for upgrading is going into the T3 website and going into the support page. And because the NinjaTrader installers have the chart templates, have the system templates, have two pre-made workspaces for you already for version 2. So there you go. What is it, Sergio? Give it to me. I bet you I know the answer. Yeah, I have a default transmit and receiver chart, and then as you guys make tweaks, you can always save a new template. Yeah, without the indicators, the strategy doesn't work. So if you need to get a demo of them going, be more than happy to get one of the guys to get you hooked up. Just DM me or one of the other guys, Chris, Cameron, Mark, or Jim. All right, cool. I'll have somebody get with you here. Let me send you a message just so I remember. I'll send you one. So we'll get somebody on it. All right, guys. Other questions? Let's see. So Sergio, give me, let me see a picture of your chart, Shane. Did you use it on your existing workspace or one of the? Yes, Phil. Um, so under templates, I have load, and there is a trend trade small chart NASDAQ with a 13.2 synthetic trigger and a 34.5 synthetic trigger. Did you apply one of these, Shane? And if you didn't and you want to use your own, that's totally cool. Look, let me show you again real quick. I think this is going to come up more once. For your second trigger line, you're going to have to rename it to this. So all you do is just format indicators, go into the label, and just put in synthetic triggers, underscore in the middle, and then the system will read it. Or you can name it ABC. You can name it whatever the hell you want. The only difference is in the strategy, when we're looking at the two triggers, the strategy sees whatever the default name is for the first one, and then the synthetic trigger lines, this is the name it has to be. So I could change it to ABC or CL this or crude that or gold this or whatever. I could change it to whatever I want. But in the system and the indicator, the label has to be the same. Does that make sense? Here's the answer to your question. Sorry for the Dobermans. I'm under attack. No, I have. Sergio, did you apply the small chart template? So when you go into strategies, go to templates and go to load and load the default receiver chart template. And that will put all the goodies in there. Let's see what you got. All right. You can use whatever you want, guys. The only thing you do is just have to set it up properly. So as long as the system is set up so, you know, the second synthetic trigger is what you want on the small chart. Totally fine. Okay, Gene, good. So, Adriana, absolutely. You can keep using your same workspace that you have now if you wish. The only difference is one of your T3 trigger lines for the strategy has to be named. The label on it has to be the same so it knows what to look for. Does that make sense? So there's a setting in the strategy for naming the second trigger, and then you have to actually physically name the second trigger, but you're more than welcome to use whatever you want. And remember, this is the trigger that uses the other time frame. So it's the 34.5 large triggers that we're using. We just have to name it differently. So the large chart transmits and the small chart receives. I did change my laptop and my machine ID changed, so you don't have any automation. Yeah. Just send it to or DM me with the machine ID, your name and machine ID. I don't always remember everybody's handles. So. All right. Other questions, comments, concerns, things you guys want to go through? Again, you guys are more than welcome. Manual trades, and I'm just trying to see if any of our exits kick in here. Questions, comments, and again, look, as you guys go, you're still going to have questions. So we'll try to get everybody answered as quickly as possible. I was just easy with it. Anyway. Here's the answer to your question. I had both triggers green, small triggers above the large triggers, small triggers above the EMA. Entry bar has a wick, and don't trade into small swing or large swing 1-to-1s, support or resistance, or bullish or bearish divergence. That's what I had active. That's the default template, which is still very limited in the filtering. It's just looking for both triggers to be good and a tail. And then I let the small chart handle it after that. Yes, Steve, 100%. Huh. I got a list. It's never going to end. So HBNS is a mother scratcher. That's the reversal bug I was telling you about. Just a pain in my ass. Anyway, the best thing is to not have a, automated exits got me out on a lower divergence. So it did what I was going to do. automatically. Anyway, look, that's a bug. Don't trade real money yet. Guys, come on now. Spend some time with it. Let's get used to it. Let me finish these last couple little good gotcha things. This was just so you guys can get used to the strategy. Again, that's a really good example of why you don't want a pivot stop out divergence in the middle of a trade, because it just takes you out and then you're like, God dang it. Anyway. All right. Just reading. Any other questions? How do you download it? Go to the support page on the NextGen site and download the Ninja installer. I'll make it easy. There's a link to download the installer. That'll have 2 workspaces, your chart templates, and system templates. Okay. Okay. Let me go back. Okay. We're going to go back and we're going to read the directions together just to make sure I've got them right. So bear with me here. I'm not trying to pick. I'm just trying to say. Okay. Apply the strategy to your large chart. And this is the one I think where you may have missed. Apply the template for the strategy, the default large chart transmit. And the reason you're doing that, and then you could do this manually if you want once you know what you're doing, but the reason that we do it is because by default it comes, the large chart is just solo, which means it's not going to transmit anything. It's just going to be like all this, like the old days. So this has to be on transmit to transmit. Does that make sense? And then if you don't want to try to figure it out, you just go to load, default, large chart, transmit. Load it, and then it's minimal up here, but I do have the areas don't trade into until all 4 triggers get through it. So it's a little assertive. I don't know if this is best anymore or not. I haven't really done a lot of testing. I just want to make sure it works. So does that make sense? You good with this? So the quick way is template, load, default, large chart, transmit. And if you're on the small chart, default receiver chart. That'll get you a good start at least. And then when you activate it, you'll have transmit on there. All right, guys. In version 1, let me give you guys something. I don't know if I need to change this or not, but in version 1, if there's a down bar, even though there's a signal on the big chart, and the close is in between the large triggers going up and the synthetic triggers going down, it's not going to generate a signal. The only way if it's in between both large and small triggers, they have to be crossed in the same direction. I may have to tweak this a little bit to where we're looking at where is the large trigger relative to the synthetics, because that's the answer. Anyway, just little thing, when you program stuff, it's absolute. There's no in between. There's no, it's black and white. We always give it a little leeway when we're doing discretionary trading because you're like, man, it's going down. I might as well go. And anyway, you can't bend the rules. You can bend them yourself, but the strategy is going to keep you pretty well grounded for the most part. There's still a lot of discretionary trades to do, guys. All right, questions, comments, concerns, things you guys want to go through? Anybody else? Hey, guess what, guys? We're not going away. We'll be around. So if you need more later, we'll be more than happy to answer any questions. So run the installer, import the new one, unimport the old one, use the templates, ask questions and let us know. I know Jason's like, oh my God, here comes tech. So yes, tech will be a little slow for a couple days, but just ask questions, guys, if you need it. Ask them in the traders chat or ask them, you can make a tech ticket if you want, but if you just ask them in the traders chat, we'll try to get to them as quickly as possible too. Jason is a rock. Everybody who works for NextGen is a rock star. There is no non-rock star at NextGen. See if I can lose some money. Anyway, full band of rock stars. Yeah. This is why no signal, no trade. I've tried to beat the system a lot. And I have to say it's pretty damn good. I think you guys, when you're running it real time and you start seeing where the signals are, and then you start really getting used to where the small chart, what the small chart is doing, you'll start to figure out your filters that you want and things like that. Right. All right, guys, I'm going to stop the recording so